Hello guys, my name is Jeff and today we are at SEMA, and I figured in this video what better way than to show you and highlight some of the vehicles that are here at the massive trade show that is SEMA. So what you're looking at here is a 2,800 horsepower Chevelle built by the guys at Blaze and Rods, and this car was built over the span of a year, which yes is very fast for a build of this caliber. Underneath we have an Art Morrison chassis. In the engine here you can see it's actually set behind the wheel, so it's technically front mid-engine. It's actually got a lot of motorsports roots in terms of guiding the air and getting it out from under the wheel wells where it might build up. Center lock wheels, massive turbo. It's twin turbocharged, one on each side. As we move back, you can see the exhaust actually exits out here. It's been widened all around, and this is all metalwork, by the way. In here, we do have a cage, bucket seats, the steering wheel, and it does have a sequential 6-speed shifter, and you can see it uses paddle shifters here on the back for the transmission. There's some components in here borrowed from other cars. For example, looking at the vents, those are definitely Mercedes vents. As we move down here, we have a nice duckbill spoiler, more aggressive aero, and you can see just how wide these rear tires are, and we even have a diffuser in the back. So a year to build this beautiful car here by the guys at Blaze and Rods, and the car's even won some awards. So what we've got here is a full carbon fiber mid-engine Ford pickup truck built by the guys at 612 Auto Works. And I love that the carbon fiber has this very cool like camouflage pattern throughout here. If we take a look at the wheels, very nice. Big disc brakes underneath. Everything actually features a custom frame, which then features Corvette suspension and massive brakes. Now here's a very cool detail in the back here. What you're looking at is a mid-mounted Voodoo, so that's the 5.2-liter V8 naturally aspirated, 526 horsepower out of a Mustang or Shelby GT350, which then has an 8-to-1 header to exit out the rear. And you can see all of the carbon fiber in here. This build is just crazy. The goal here is for the total project, hasn't been weighed yet, but to weigh less than 3,000 pounds. And then it features a very cool 6-speed transaxle in the back. This is just an incredibly cool build that's been gathering a lot of attention here. And of course, built by the guys at 612 Auto Works. And I love this thing. So here is what is perhaps one of the most controversial cars of the show. It's a Miata that was initially believed to be Lamborghini V10 powered, but what we've actually got here is under the hood is an LT base, so a more modern GM V8 with a Lamborghini intake manifold and a set of twin turbos. Now it's not currently running yet, but it is a in-progress build, which is not totally uncommon here to see at SEMA. There are a few other builds like this, but it is fairly along in terms of the build process. What we have here is an R34 GTR built by the guys at Throtl, and under the hood here we have a single turbocharged RB26, which is fully built and now producing over 1,500 horsepower. Look at the aggressive wheels here, Willwood disc brakes. We have, of course, the livery from Too Fast, Too Furious here on the inside, carbon fiber bucket seats, paddle shifters, and 3 bottles of nitrous oxide there. Coming around to the back, more of the similar wheel setups, the spoiler, and of course a parachute, because now this is one seriously fast car. So what we have here is the 12 Air from Kindig Designs. It's a full aluminum body, but under the hood is an LS-based V12 that's now displacing 9.2 liters, capable of up to 1,000 horsepower, but is currently on a more conservative tune. If we take a look under here, you can see that we have a bespoke chassis underneath, but look at the brakes and everything. It's all been polished. Even the calipers are custom with these beautiful wheels. This build, even though it's similar to the Kindig Design CF1s, is actually a coupe. You can see it has cantilever suspension in the rear, in addition to all sorts of really cool details, full leather interior that looks like a jewelry box. And if you look underneath the build, everything is just as gorgeous as the exterior. And coming around to the rear, there are some really cool details here. Obviously more of the interior and the jewelry in there, automatic transmission. In the back, these taillights actually fold up, so you get access to things like your actual battery tender ports, so you can charge this thing while it's sitting in your garage, and even some more bespoke plates. You can see even the differential cover in the rear is just stunning. This is one heck of a build and certainly deserves all the awards it gets. Over here in the Baja Designs booth, we have a twin turbocharged Lamborghini V10. Yes, that's a real V10. Look at all of the cylinders here. We do have 2 precision turbos on either side, but this is not where the craziness stops. If we start to move around the rest of the vehicle, you can see here it's still a work in progress, but check out everything that's been done. The amount of fabrication and work to build this structure for the long travel king suspension with external reservoirs is off the charts, and it looks beautiful vehicle as well. We also have these massive off-road tires with beadlock wheels. As we keep moving up the vehicle on the inside of this Range Rover, you can see we have a variety of buttons and a mostly original Range Rover interior. Now, of course, with harnesses and carbon fiber bucket seats to help hold us in place. Then as we come around to the front of the vehicle, same thing, off-road tires, totally custom suspension for the long travel suspension, beautiful control arms, and of course, more of those Baja design lights here on the front. What a crazy build. Certainly not much Range Rover left anymore on this. So Toyota came out with some serious heat this year. What you're looking at here is a GR86, which has been customized with the GR Corolla powertrain and drivetrain. So yes, under the hood here is a turbocharged 3-cylinder from the GR Corolla, good for over 300 horsepower, and it sits fairly high up because there is, in fact, the GR Corolla's all-wheel drive system under this car. And to top it all off, as you can see here from the aesthetics, it's been inspired by the Celica, which actually won the World Rally Championship. It's a very, very cool build here, obviously very performance oriented, using a lot of the GR performance products in the line here. On the inside here, you can see that crazy shifter full rally car, race car on the interior, external reservoir shocks, GR4, and then in the back is a very cool center exit exhaust. So what we have over here is a slightly modified BMW Z4 built by Goichi Motors. Now you may have noticed, but under here in the front is an F1X ProCharger centrifugal supercharger, and that is crank driven by this Mercedes M120 V12, and it now produces 1,400 horsepower at the wheels. So with this thing weighing less than 3,000 pounds, it's safe to say that this thing is a monster. Center lock wheels on the side here, Willwood Racing disc brakes. As we take a look, you can see that the car's actually been fitted with a GT3 body kit. On the interior, full race car in here, bucket seats, sequential transmission. As we come around to the back here, we can see this massive wing and even the diffuser for what is one heck of a build. Next, moving on to the Toyo Tires Treadpass. This is obviously a very popular section for SEMA. There was all sorts of stuff in here. An EV swapped Civic that is still front wheel drive, a V8 swapped E36 BMW. We have an incredible supercharged Toyota Land Cruiser over here. And then we even have a Ford Mustang, again, supercharged. But look at all the killer body kits. I particularly like the fenders here, which have elements that you could say are similar to what you'd find on the GTD, while still having Willwood disc brakes and all sorts of other cool features. Moving down here, we actually have a Mercedes built by S Club, so very sharp retro styling on, again, modern performance chassis and underneath. Over here on the left side, we actually have a very cool Civic that is built by Goichi Motors. This thing has a twin turbocharged V6 under the hood here, which is an incredibly cool powertrain. And again, a very, very light car, massive aero. You can look at the beautiful wheels here, Willwood disc brakes, a full stripped down interior with paddle shifters, incredibly cool. Over here, we have a V8 powered BMW E30, again, Texas Speed V8 under the hood. Moving back to the right side here, we have another build from S Club, and this Porsche is stunning. I love the HRE wheels. You can see all of the wide body, which is very beautifully blends into the body lines of this car. A nice little ducktail spoiler. Audison sound system here in the back, leather interior with bucket seats. I love the weave on this thing as well, carbon fiber steering wheel. This is one sharp build. But pushing things to the extreme over here is another S Club build, this time based on an SLR. That's right, the Mercedes SLR with a mid-mounted in the front, supercharged 5.4-liter V8 and a very extreme custom body kit here from S Club. Everything is completely custom. We still have the AMG automatic transmission here. Usually the powertrains are left unmodified for the most part, but what a crazy body kit on the exterior. Over here, we have a full carbon fiber R33 GTR from SS Garage Active. So obviously JDM imported here all sorts of incredibly cool details. You can see the paint, you can barely see the carbon fiber underneath, which has a very cool ombre as it finishes towards the back. But you might have even noticed the Xenon Nissan headlights, which are a very expensive piece. Under the hood, of course, you can expect a turbocharged RB engine pushing out an insane amount of power. These beautiful center lock wheels here on the side, more of that carbon fiber finish. Speedline wheels. We have a houndstooth interior with bucket seats, Alcantara finish. You can see Garage Active serial number 10 for the Carbon R package. A lot of R32s, now R33s. We have more of that ombre as the carbon switches to the black carbon here in the rear. Carbon fiber spoiler with a bit of a flare up in the back. And of course, a mortar tube for the exhaust. Over here, we have an incredible Hartley V12 powered Toyota Celica. And one of the important details of this is to look at the different amounts of carbon fiber here. In case you didn't know, the type of weave and carbon fiber varies, and also varies by cost in terms of quality as well. Over here, we have these beautiful BBS center lock wheels, and you might have even noticed that there's this very nice body kit which goes all the way around the car. Taking a look at the interior here, obviously everything is now coated in leather, these wonderful carbon fiber bucket seats, sequential shifter, everything is just stunning in this with the stopwatches, a very nice retro modern style here like a resto mod, but more importantly, cantilever suspension in the rear, more of that carbon fiber, and even a very cool V12 badge to just finish everything off. So moving on, we have an incredibly cool Z over here. Again, look at the side draft carburetors. I love the crinkle coat on the engine. Subtle fender flares here on the outside. Interior has been updated with some ride bucket seats, manual transmission. And over here, we have what might be the coolest Porsche Boxster I've ever seen. I mean, the 986 generation is an incredibly affordable, fun car to drive. And this one has taken that a step further and has gone completely bonkers on customizing it. Taking a look at the wheels here, nice deep dish finish. Wilwood disc brakes though on the back side. As you can see here, everything's been functioned to fit nicely with the body kit. It's been widened and turned into a speedster profile. The interior here though is incredible. Obviously leather everywhere, carbon fiber bucket seats. I mean, everything has been completely changed in this car. And the interior actually looks more like something you'd find in, let's say, a more vintage style Porsche 911, but looks incredible here. Moving to the back of the car, I love the finish and the side exits. It looks incredibly similar to something that you might find on, let's say, the Porsche 911, the GT1. So very, very cool. This is a very unsuspecting build. Obviously, this looks like a Toyota Tundra that's been turned into a trophy truck, which is very cool in its own right. But under the hood, actually, as you'll see by the badge here on the side, this thing is actually powered by a Hellcat supercharged 6.2-liter V8, good for over 700 horsepower, massive long travel suspension there. You can see our motor in there. We do have some Volk Racing wheels, Wilwood disc brakes, and of course, lots of wide body fenders throughout. The inside, you can see the cage here, which has been very well done. Of course, the shifters, and you might have noticed that's actually the 8-speed automatic transmission shifter from a Hellcat, which is a cool detail. As we continue moving down, more wide body, additional wheels, of course, to fit its role as a Prerunner, all the disc brakes, long travel suspension, but a very, very cool truck, radiators and cooling in the back along with the fuel cell as well. So here we have the McLaren Solus GT, one of just 25 produced as a track-focused model, which is powered by a 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V10 that I believe is a Judge-based version of this car, and this thing is incredible. It's a single-seater. You can see all the cantilever inboard suspension, center lock wheels, and then here in the back we have the spoiler, the Active Aero, the one in the back, and this is just such an incredible car. Obviously, the #1 vehicle built, the American flag in the corner, trying to incorporate a lot of F1 tech into this car. And this is something that, again, not really modified, so it doesn't really make sense at the SEMA Show, but you can, of course, simulate things, put certain coatings on it. It's still cool to see it in person nonetheless. And this car, I believe, is somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $4 million. Obviously very rare, and as a track-only model, you're not likely to see them on the streets, but you have one here at the SEMA Show, which is still very cool to check out. So what we have here is a 1956 Ford F100, which was built by Fat Fender Garage out of Phoenix, Arizona. And as you can see here, it actually has a bare metal finish. Now, normally, this is not something you'd want to do, but fortunately, it has been Cerakoted with a matte finish, so now it can be left out. The other thing that's cool about this build, I mean, look at all the beautiful trim to accent everything, but more importantly, is just the finish and the quality of the metalwork. To do a metal build like this, everything has to look perfect, or at least mostly perfect. And just look at the way everything looks on this truck. It is just stunning. I love the wheels. Of course, you have a full leather interior. Look at all the details, more of that stainless steel finish here on the inside. A wood bed in the back, which is lifted to make sure we can keep the truck nice and low. And as we come to the back of the truck, look at all the cool and different details. Just an incredibly cool raw metal truck made possible with the Cerakote on the exterior. So this is the full carbon fiber charger from Exomod. And under the hood here is a supercharged 6.2-liter V8, which is also equipped with the optional Hennessy H1000 package, now producing over 1,000 horsepower, but is still covered under a 3-year powertrain warranty. The entire body is carbon fiber and made to look like a 1968 Dodge Charger, saving approximately 400 pounds over a factory Hellcat. Over here, we have these wonderful wheels. The carbon here is tinted in candy with pagan gold. If we take a look at the interior, we actually have a catskin leather interior on the inside. You can see a lot of the Hellcat components here, that 8-speed automatic transmission. So this thing will definitely do over 800 miles per hour. All the beautiful carbon. Notice even the body lines and the fastback for the Charger are all intact here. In the back, we have these pagan gold stripes. And then in the back, we have the beautiful 68 Charger parts, but everything's been widened. It's about 4 inches wider than an original Charger. And so everything had to be custom made for this car, and a very beautiful smoked tint carbon. It looks absolutely stunning here at SEMA. So what we have here is a Shelby Cobra wide body replica that has an RB26 2.6 liter straight six with a single turbo setup on it under the hood. So now it's essentially a JDM Cobra. And then to top it all off, obviously it's got new wheels, bigger brakes, all that type of stuff, but it's also finished in midnight purple. So you've got a GTR powertrain, GTR colors. The interior's been updated in here, manual transmission running on AEM. Then as we come around to the rear of the car, we have an absolutely massive mortar tube coming out the back of this thing. And this is pretty impressive, making a fair bit of power in a car that weighs less than 2,400 pounds. This is Darlene, the sister to Christine, obviously in a different color, but under the hood, we have a Dodge Demon supercharged 6.2 liter V8, good for over 800 horsepower. And as you can see here, the rest of the car has been mostly, let's say, improved upon the factory specs. Everything is beautifully finished. I love this interior in particular. Some of the patterns chosen here for the interior is just stunning. And so on the exterior, the car looks very similar, or maybe might even be assumed to be factory correct, but under the hood, this is definitely one heck of a monster. Over here, we've got ourselves a Joe Dirt Daytona. Under the hood here, we've got a 383 cubic inch V8. You can see all the wheels and everything is aged. The interior, nice fuzzy seats with the chain steering wheel. And of course, in the back, we even have the feelers and the big Daytona wing for the back of this car. Look at this beautiful build, twin turbocharged LS-based motor under the hood. The wheels, I mean, look at these Wilwood disc brakes, the side exit here, a beautiful leather interior K5 Blazer without the roof. Oh man, they just nailed everything here. And I love the wood finish here in the back, the wheel fitment, the air ride suspension system here. Oh man, this is quite possibly the best Blazer build I've ever seen. So this is an incredibly cool concept from Honda Racing. What you're looking at here is actually the Honda CR-V Hybrid Racer, and it takes a Honda CR-V Hybrid and mixes it with a Honda Indy car drivetrain, which also happens to be a hybrid, using a twin turbocharged 2.2 liter V6 engine, which is absolutely insane. And of course, to accompany that, we have this bonkers body kit, Brembo disc brakes, center lock wheels, all this carbon fiber aero. You can see the side exit there. The interior has also been race carified. In the back here, we have that Indy car drivetrain, which is a hybrid system, obviously updated for the season. And then in the back here, massive diffuser, massive aero. This thing is insane for an SUV. So this is the Integra Type S HRC prototype. And the idea with this was the potential of aftermarket parts for the Acura Type S. So there's a lot of cool race parts here. And the concept with this car was the thinking that you could drive this car to the track and take everything you need with you. Now, obviously, there's improved aero, improved cooling, all sorts of things like that. Underneath, the powertrain is the same. So turbocharged, 4-cylinder, good for 320 horsepower. Obviously, over here on the side, you can see these Brembo brakes, nice and big brakes, forged wheels. The HRC badging is pretty cool. Interior in the front here, we have these carbon fiber Recaro seats, which are nice. But in the back, we've actually got a back seat delete, which this will help you save weight on the track. You can see there's also some extra bracing back here. But the other thing you'll notice with the carbon fiber in here is this is intended to be able to hold your track tires and take it to the track. So you go to the track on your street tires. Once you're there, you can swap them out in the back and then take it onto the track with a lighter weight Integra, which is very cool. Here in the back, we have a carbon fiber spoiler, more of that HRC badging, and of course, a triple Borla exhaust. Now, usually the SEMA Show is more so about the aftermarket and stuff like that, but here we have the brand new unreleased 2025 Chevrolet Corvette ZR1. And of course, lots of updates to this car. More importantly, the carbon fiber aero, which adds 1,200 pounds of downforce. In the back, we have a mid-mounted twin turbocharged 5.5 liter V8, producing 1,064 horsepower and 828 pound-feet of torque, which is quick enough to supposedly hit a quarter mile in less than 10 seconds, according to GM. And recently, the president of GM just hit a top speed of 233 miles per hour in the brand new ZR1, which was able to average over 230 miles per hour in 10 runs, which is very impressive. Then there's this incredibly cool Kia camper concept, which has this whole roof. This thing looks incredibly cool. I love all the screens on the front for the winch controls. Very futuristic, kind of looks like a lunar rover. Obviously the camper on the top, all the doors that adjust and open up for storage. We have, of course, the plate for the weekender here, and coming to the back. A lot of similar details to the street cars, but a very modern, very cool take on the interiors. Dussault Design's Camaro, which gets used in a lot of time attack and track racing. So all the aero you see here is functional. In fact, this thing just set some recent records. Look at this. The brakes literally go right up into the wheels, Forgeline wheels, massive turbo hidden here on the side, powered by a V8 engine. You can see all the suspension geometries totally customized. The engine's been pushed all the way back in terms of improving the weight balance and distribution, but the interior still looks pretty nice in here. I love the way these bucket seats look. Obviously, we have a full cage because it is in fact a race car, and so you'll see a lot of the electronics are set up that way as well. A lot of adjustable controls to manage things on the fly for time attack. More carbon, very aggressive fitment here on the wide body, massive carbon fiber spoiler, fuel cell there in the middle. Again, everything's focused on weight distribution and performance, and this thing makes some serious power as well, well over 1,000 horsepower. This guy right here is the Carbon Ray. Look at all of the cool carbon here, split window in the back, sitting on some nice wheels here, disc brakes all around. Even the interior has more of that carbon. Really cool detail, nice bucket seats with some cool logos in it. Very sharp car. Magnuson supercharger here on the top, and even more carbon fiber for those front bumpers. So here in the Ford booth, there's always some exciting stuff here. There's actually some trucks and some Broncos which have some new equipment, including a performance pack for these single cab Ford pickup trucks to make over 700 horsepower. But then we also have this incredibly cool carbon fiber pickup truck, which is in fact supercharged. So you know that this is making a ton of power, and thanks to this beautiful carbon fiber body, these very cool wheels, as you can assume, this is lighter and of course a little bit faster for that reason as well. Everything's completely done up in here. A Ford-backed project with the Ford powertrain in here, massive housing in the back here to lower everything down, but a very, very, very sharp build. So not every manufacturer has a booth here, but Nissan has one that is pretty cool. Obviously, they're trying to highlight the Kicks, which is a brand new vehicle, I believe, released just right before the SEMA show. There's this very cool Z here, which has some very cool influences to make it look like an original 240Z, including some fender flares. Then we have this Tarmac truck, which I believe was a project with Ryan Turk. As you can see here, custom carbon fiber wide body. The interior has been updated. It looks like we have a hydro in there, Recaro bucket seats. And then under the hood here, we have, I believe, a supercharged powertrain as well. So pretty cool here. So here we have a very outside of the box build, twin turbocharged V8, some cool engine components actually on the exterior, the pistons up front there, canards, side exit. We actually have weld wheels on here, beadlocks in the back, custom wide body, some usage of carbon fiber, a literal wood center console, more engine components there. As we can see, the piston over there on the shifter. And this is just one heck of a crazy drag build. All sorts of cool custom fabrication and body modifications to it to build a crazy drag car. Here's another example of one of those insanely expensive hypercars that, although isn't modified, gets kind of roped into SEMA in terms of unveiling certain products, usually protective things like PPF or even wraps. In this case, we have a Koenigsegg Regera, which if you're not familiar, so twin turbocharged V8, but it actually uses a CVT transmission, which yes, normally we are kind of weary of, but the idea of a CVT transmission is that it can maintain the optimum gear ratio for the best acceleration and speed. And so this car is very, very fast, and it also happens to be a hybrid, which is kind of a fun fact. You can plug it into the rear. But of course, any Koenigsegg is cool in my book, and the Regera is very iconic and unique for that feature. And you see all the carbon and the workmanship that goes into this car, which I believe is somewhere around $2 to $3 million. Over here we have an FD RX7, which actually features a turbocharged 3-rotor in it. Not too often you find an FD that actually still has a rotary in it, even if it's been upgraded to a 3-rotor. BBS wheels, fairly sharp mirrors, still have the spoiler on the back. Very cool to see that it hasn't been LS swapped and instead has been upgraded to a 3-rotor. So now this is pretty fun. These are Kei Trucks, which obviously have been imported here in the United States, but they're being turned into utilitarian uses. Most of the time for Kei Trucks in the United States here, a lot of these get turned into just fun vehicles, but we have a camper here on the right, and this one here is actually sort of turned into a mechanic version that has actual tool drawers on the side, and so the idea that maybe this could be a mobile mechanic type of use case, and this one here has the camper, where you could take this off-road or take it camping, whatever the case is, use it as a track side support vehicle type of thing. Very cool use case, and it's a shame that Kei Trucks here in the United States are always facing potential bans when we could use them for things like this, and they'd be very, very practical as general use vehicles, similar to how they get used in Japan. Over here, we actually have one of the 2 Factory 5 booths, which has their very cool, almost off-roady Raptor type package that starts very affordably at $10,000 and can be equipped to a regular Ford. And over here, we have a hot rod built for Joey Logano, which actually has a FR9 358 cubic inch NASCAR motor. So you're talking upwards of 900 horsepower on a Factory 5 Roadster kit. And this was actually pulled from one of Joey Logano's race cars and put into this hot rod, which is incredibly cool. A lot of the radiator, cooling, fuel cell, all that located in the back with a nice little NASCAR type spoiler. So over here we have some crazy builds, including a Miata, which is on skis and tracks. We have a Porsche Cayenne, which has been chopped off in the rear and turned into a camper. We have this Jeep hot rod, which is very cool. We have a Hummer, which has more camber than you'll find on a Honda, but still has rear-wheel steer, some Forerunners, and then we have this incredibly cool postal vehicle in the back, which you can't really see it, but it's actually been swapped with an LS7. So there's a 427 cubic inch V8 under the hood of this thing. And to top it off, look at these freaking turbos in this thing. So check this thing out. It is sitting quite literally on the ground, finished in black, which has all the dust on it here in Las Vegas. But check out this interior. This thing is spectacular. I love the bright colors with the way it contrasts, but the overall build on everything for this truck is just incredible. The whole theme, all of the billet and printed components on it, the fuel cell, incredibly clean and on the floor. What we've got here is an absolutely massive jack that, of course, is supposed to be a replica of one of the Pro Eagle jacks. And from my understanding, this jack is even functional. I mean, look at this. This thing is on BF Goodrich mud terrains. These are nicer tires than most trucks have. And this jack, of course, doesn't make nearly as much noise as a real jack, but it does have a lot of the various stickers and other equipment throughout. So this is pretty hilarious, an unexpected item, but great marketing here at SEMA. So this is a Cuda Hellcat convertible built by the guys at 612 AutoWorks, but it also has a full carbon fiber body. If you take a look at the front here, everything you see here is inspired by the 71 Cuda. And we have a full carbon body that saves somewhere in the neighborhood of around 400 pounds, but because this one is actually a convertible, some of those weight savings are offset with extra reinforcement into the body to help hold it all together. And so because it is a Hellcat based, under the hood we have a supercharged 6.2-liter V8 producing 717 horsepower. You can take a look at the wheels here, Cuda calipers now. The interior has been completely redone, so now we have this orange leather interior, 8-speed automatic transmission. The headrests have been lopped off, and there are some cool 3D printed components on the inside. Cool carbon fiber stripe throughout. Then as we come to the rear, we even get Cuda taillights. This is one really cool build, and I should mention it's actually a powered convertible top, which is a really cool finish to this build. So this is a pretty wild build. This is a Tesla Model 3 that has a lot of work done to it, but most critically is actually what's under the hood here. It's kind of hard to see, but what you're looking at there is actually powered by a combustion engine and it's turbocharged. So they swapped out all the EV tech. It's been wide bodied. These used to be a 4-door. This one's been chopped and shortened, and now it's a 2-door. We have a full race car interior, and as you can see here, because this is now a combustion vehicle, they had to build a transmission tunnel and a driveline tunnel to run everything under the car and deliver power to the rear wheel. So now we have a combustion-powered rear-wheel drive Tesla race car. So there are two very cool vehicles here. First, we have this Lamborghini Gallardo, which was built by my friends out in Florida. It is a twin turbocharged V10 powered setup under there that they built themselves. You can find it over on their YouTube channel, so over at Schmodified. And then here we have a Ford F-250. Now, at first glance, this looks like a wrap. but it's not. There are over 650 hours into this paint job. So as you can see here, everything has been cleaned up and painted with a variety of very cool finishes, but you'll also note that it switches between gloss and matte finishes. All of these details that were mapped out, everything actually goes around into the door frame as well. So if you were to open it up and the door jams, that's all painted with the same theme continuing throughout the vehicle. All these different finishes, airbrush work here. It's a lot of effort and it looks quite sharp, but you'd be so quick to assume it's a wrap. So that's uncanny how similar it looks to a wrap, which of course was the inspiration for this, but it's really impressive when you see it in person. So over here we have two very cool vehicles that look like they're engraved, almost like there's some sort of material finish over top, and actually that's a material called IZ metal, and it is this flexible material that you can sculpt and carve into these very cool shapes that you see here, and then you can paint over top. So while it looks like it could be bare metal here in the silver finish, it's actually painted over, and so this will be just fine. It's not going to rust, and it gives you a very, very cool metallic finish like this. So here on the Dodge booth, there's all sorts of different stuff here, including a very cool Willys sort of prototype Jeep thing that even has something stamped into the hood, which is quite cool. We actually have some EV swapped Mopars over here as well that have a very cool build for this GTX as part of the Mopar design program for changing everything in and out. So you can see there's some modern components on here, things like the wheels. The interior, of course, has been completely changed and done up. Over here, though, we actually have the brand new Ram, which is an EV, and that is right next to the brand new EV Charger. And the reason you can tell that is it's got the R-dam or the R-wing design there in the front. And the reason these are painted in this cool blue and white color scheme is actually so they can replicate a very famous photo from the 90s that had a Dodge Ram towing a Dodge Viper in this color scheme. This one is quite sharp. I like the wheels on here. This one in particular we know is one of the higher trim versions, the highest output for the EV models. There's that R-wing I talked about earlier. Carbon fiber, a two-door coupe, more similar to the Charger, but it is still a four-seater on the inside. Pretty sharp car. We have a very cool concept over here that is a Ram concept. Split headlights, obviously very rugged and off-road for the sort of power wagon concept to revive it. And even the interior has a lot of cool colors and materials, a lot of contrast on the inside. As we continue moving back, you can see this one has all sorts of accessories, cool off-road wheels, all that type of stuff. And then there's a variety of other things, including a modern fuel-injected swapped Charger in the corner and a Jeep Wagoneer. Over here is the Jeep Wrangler Lowdown concept, which looks very similar to the Hellcat Jeep concept we saw. Integrated lights. It still has a V8 under the hood, so that's that 392 cubic inch or 6.4 liter fuel injected V8. Absolutely massive tires, rock slides on here. Very cool. Wish it was the Hellcat motor. Still very cool nonetheless on the inside. Everything's been updated as well. A pretty simple concept, but I think pretty cool in theory. Very rugged, sort of fun looking off-road vehicle with some speed to boot. So what you're looking at here is actually a twin-charged Dodge Challenger Demon. So under the hood here, we have the supercharged 6.2 liter V8 in normal Demon fashion, which makes over 800 horsepower on its own. But this one features the Helion Turbo Kit. So under here, look, there are two twin turbos tucked underneath the car by the transmission and the engine where they meet. So this thing now makes way more power. You can see it's a 170. On the interior, it's been updated a bit. We do have harnesses now in addition to, you can see all the trans brake and other components. Over here in the rear, of course, you know, we have beadlock wheels to help hold these Hoosier drag slicks in place. And as we come around to the back, we have some very cool carbon fiber, which actually accompanies the carbon fiber fenders and even a parachute, because this is a serious performance car, which makes way more power than the factory output. So this bad boy is the Toyota Rav X concept. Now this thing looks very extreme. Obviously Toyota's most popular vehicles here, but this one has been taken to the extreme for off-road performance. Not only does it have all these fender flares, very aggressive wide body kit and intakes, we actually have some underbody skid protection now, longer travel suspension with external reservoirs, these very cool Toyota wheels. We have some nice vents, mud flaps. You can see on the top here, there's a sort of forged carbon look like roof. As we continue moving back, we can see more of that off-road performance and speed. Fox shocks, again, external reservoirs, a little bit of a spoiler in the back, and then all of this ground clearance for some killer approach and departure angles on this very cool off-road RAV4. So what we have here is the Toyota Land Cruiser Baja Race Edition. Now, as you can see here, anything that would turn this thing into a pre-runner or essentially a race truck has been done. We have a full wide body kit here, light bars, way taller now. You can see here, there's actually a more aggressive skid plate underneath. And now we have some Fox suspension with external reservoirs, big beefy open country tires here with beadlock wheels to hold everything in place. We have these very cool, heavily bolstered Sparkle racing seats. The dash is still intact, similar to factory. There is now a roll cage in here, and underneath you'll find these very aggressive trailing arms for that off-road suspension, long travel as well. Again, the rear seats have been modified. We now have one seat here in the back. We have these very cool ports again for messing with all of your race adjustments as well. And then we actually get a spare tire here in the back. Very, very cool vehicle. So what you're looking at here is a Toyota Land Cruiser, but it looks a little bit different. This one has actually been modified by Modelista, which is a company that was previously only offered in Japan, but as of last year has started making their way into the States. Now this is a cosmetic only body kit. There are some other changes on here. Most importantly is the crazy lighting, but we do have some different wheels that have the beadlock look there. We have all sorts of extra stuff on the exterior, lighting, etc., and still very much a Land Cruiser underneath, but of course modified by Modelista, which focuses on Toyota Lexus models. So this guy here is the Toyota Land Cruiser ROX, which is a totally custom build, obviously based on the brand new Land Cruiser, but you can see it's been beefed up quite a bit. This thing is much taller, and as you can see here, it is no longer an enclosed SUV. The vehicle's been chopped and modified. We have all sorts of big, aggressive off-road tires. We actually have big, aggressive rear trailing arm suspension as well, very off-road oriented. The interior is still very much similar to that of the Land Cruiser. It's been modified a little bit. As we come to the back, we do have a tire carrier. I want to show you underneath so you can see some of the off-road changes and suspension under there. Again, full-time four-wheel drive. A very, very cool vehicle here in the booth. So with that, that is a quick look at some of the favorite vehicles, sort of highlighting some of the cooler vehicles here at SEMA. Now, that does in no way do justice to all of the cool vehicles here. I mean, this is the big trade show for the aftermarket. The SEMA Show is the big event. I wanted to take some time and talk about SEMA itself. In case you didn't know, SEMA actually stands for the Specialty Equipment Market Association, and it has a big focus on the aftermarket, which, if you're into cars, is an incredibly important thing. And you can also sign up to be a SEMA member as an individual or as a business. And it's important to support this type of stuff because this is how we can keep modifying cars. There's a lot of government legislation which happens to go against some of that, and SEMA is one of the big organizations that is making sure we can continue to modify cars. So make sure you support companies like SEMA, attend the trade shows, because they also provide all sorts of resources for various businesses to help them continue improving and creating products for the aftermarket. With that, that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it and could leave me a thumbs up, we really appreciate it. Feel free to throw a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite car of the SEMA show was. With that, feel free to get subscribed so you don't miss out on future content like that. And of course, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.